What would you do if your own husband tried to take your inheritance? My name is Emily Cohan, and after my father's passing, I inherited over $4 million, everything he left behind. But instead of finding solace in this newfound wealth, my husband Kevin and his mother immediately started plotting how to spend it, calling me greedy when I voiced my concerns. They were furious when I moved $50,000 into my account as part of the property division in our divorce. Kevin thought he was entitled to it. That's when I realized this wasn't just about money. It was about respect, boundaries, and protecting my future. Want to know how the story unfolds? Don't miss the rest of this shocking journey. Subscribe now for more. Regarding the $4 million, I made the decision to split it between my mother and myself. This choice came shortly after my father's funeral, when emotions were still raw. Kevin, after casually going through the inheritance documents without asking for permission, said to me, "Emily, don't be so greedy. Oh, I can finally quit my job. I really owe that old man." Doddering old man? Are you talking about my father? I blurted out before I could stop myself, confusion overtaking my senses. Kevin and my mother-in-law quickly started discussing plans to buy a new car and go on shopping sprees. The weight of the situation was too much for me to bear. I felt my emotions rising uncontrollably. The weight of household chores, constant requests for money, and now insulting my father. I didn't want to stay in this house with Kevin and his mother any longer. Suppressing my anger, I forced a smile and said, "Sure, feel free to do whatever you want with the money." I'm Emily Cohan, 38, a housewife working alongside my husband. My parents were both doctors who ran a well-respected clinic in our hometown. As an only child, I was always surrounded by love. After finishing pharmacy school, I landed a job at a major pharmaceutical company. Though my parents were disappointed that I didn't become a doctor, they respected my choice. 10 years ago, my mother passed away in an accident. It devastated both me and my father. During those painful years, Kevin, then my boyfriend, was my rock. We met through a mutual friend, and 2 years after my mother's death, Kevin proposed. He was a regular salaryman in the food and beverage industry, but I was convinced we could overcome any challenge and build a happy life together. My father was thrilled when I told him about our engagement. "I've seen how much Kevin has supported you, Emily. Thank you so much. Please continue to take care of her," he said, addressing Kevin. Kevin stood tall and promised, "I will make her happy," his voice firm and sincere. Standing next to him, I felt a rush of happiness. The next week, we went to Kevin's family to announce our engagement. His mother, who wore heavy makeup and had been divorced from Kevin's father, immediately scrutinized me. "Marriage, huh? Is this really your choice, Kevin? She's not exactly beautiful, is she? And older too, right? Wouldn't a younger, prettier girl be better?" Kevin quickly fired back. "Mom, you know M Pharmaceuticals, right? Emily works there. Her father is a doctor who runs his own practice." I had expected Kevin to praise my character, but instead he focused on the financial advantages. At that, his mother's expression softened into one of satisfaction. "Oh, Kevin, why didn't you tell me about all of this sooner? That changes everything. I fully approve of the marriage. It's nice to meet you, Emily. Thank you." With his mother's approval in hand, Kevin was ecstatic. But despite everything going smoothly, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. When we were about to register our marriage, my father, a doctor and real estate investor, gifted me an apartment in a luxury building in New York City. I told Kevin, "Dad has given me this apartment as a wedding gift, but it's our new home. Let's live here happily and peacefully together." Kevin smiled, and in that moment, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. And so, our married life began. However, after getting married, I realized something unsettling. Kevin, who had lived with his parents until then, was almost incapable of doing household chores. He couldn't cook, didn't know how to use the washing machine, and showed no interest in learning. He would leave his garbage scattered around, not bothering to throw it away. While I wanted to diligently share household responsibilities, Kevin's careless attitude increased my dissatisfaction. In the first year of marriage, I took on all the household responsibilities. Despite some complaints, given that we were still in the honeymoon phase, but with the exhaustion from work and struggling to keep up with chores, I reached my limit in our second year. Deciding to have a serious talk with Kevin about sharing household duties, I bravely expressed my dissatisfaction. To my dismay, Kevin responded without gratitude or reflection, saying, "I'm tired from work too. You're much better at chores than I am, right? It's better if you do them since I'm not good at it." Dismissed just like that, Kevin hardly helped with the chores, and I continued to bear the brunt of our household responsibilities. But that wasn't the only problem. After marrying Kevin, I discovered his mother also had some peculiar ideas. Kevin wasn't very interested in seasonal events, so I decided to send a quality scarf and carnations to his mother for Mother's Day. Despite choosing a nice scarf from a department store, his mother called me, sounding displeased. She criticized the scarf, saying it wasn't from a famous brand and was absurd to send such a no-name item. I tried to explain its quality, but she wouldn't listen, insisting she wanted items from a very famous luxury brand. Stunned, I reported this to Kevin when he returned home, but instead of empathizing, he said, "What? It's just being. Just do as she said." Kevin didn't take my side, and from then on, we started giving her cash as she demanded. Moreover, by our 5th year of marriage, she began visiting our home frequently, always finding reasons to ask for money. Kevin, without any complaints, would always smile and give money to his mother. Even though I had a job, Kevin's income was limited and small, making our daily life just barely manageable. Desperation led me to dip into our savings to cut living expenses. Despite my frustrations, I knew Kevin cherished his mother, and she was an important person to me, having supported me during tough times. She's the mother of someone important to me, and with that thought, I endured. Now, in our 8th year of marriage, I continue to handle all the household chores and keep giving money to my mother-in-law. One day during this routine, my father, whom I hadn't seen in a while, unexpectedly called me. The story he shared during our rare meeting was shockingly unexpected. He revealed that he was suffering from terminal cancer and treatment was no longer possible. Overwhelmed with shock, tears spilled from my eyes. My father gently stroked my head, just as he did when I was a child, saying, "Emily, this is fate. Let's accept it quietly." I questioned, "Dad, why even you?" My days turned into a delicate balancing act: work, household chores, and now, frequent visits to my father in the hospital. While work offered some flexibility, managing the household on top of everything else was overwhelming. When I told Kevin about my father's condition, his reaction was cold, almost indifferent. "It's tough with your father's sudden illness. Do your best," was all he said. He visited my father in the hospital only once. I was so consumed with my father's care that I didn't have time to give Kevin the attention he needed. If there was any time left in my day to worry, my father took priority. One afternoon, as my father lay in his hospital bed, he turned to me with a question that caught me off guard. "Emily, how is your marriage with Kevin going?" I was stunned. His question made me reflect on Kevin's behavior at home, his lack of support, and his mother's treatment of me. I couldn't find the words to answer. Seeing my hesitation, my father, as if understanding my turmoil, gently spoke. "Emily, you don't have to endure this. Think about your own happiness. Don't worry, you won't face hardships after I'm gone." Tears streamed down my face as I fought to hold back the grief. My father, quietly and firmly, held my hand. 3 months later, the moment I had been dreading arrived. My father passed away peacefully. Grief overwhelmed me as I began making funeral arrangements. Kevin, however, showed no interest in my sorrow, not offering a single word of comfort or helping with preparations. But I was too preoccupied with the funeral to pay him much attention. The funeral was well attended, with many friends and acquaintances coming to bid my father a heartfelt farewell. Even Kevin and his mother, despite their indifference, showed up. The day after the funeral, I received an unexpected call from a lawyer about my father's inheritance. I arranged a meeting and listened in shock as he explained the details. After taxes were deducted, my father's estate amounted to over $4 million. Not only had he earned a good income as a doctor, but his real estate investments had also paid off, leaving me, his only daughter, with the entire fortune. As I processed the surprising news, I felt a mix of gratitude and anxiety about handling such a vast sum of money. I spread the documents on my desk, but exhaustion soon caught up with me and I dozed off on the couch. When I woke up, I heard the excited voices of Kevin and his mother. "Wait, Kevin? And your mother too?" I asked, confused as they approached. Kevin flashed a grin and said, Yes, Emily, well done. Huh? What's going on? I asked, still disoriented. Kevin held up the inheritance papers in his hand. Wait, what are you doing with those? I demanded, my anger rising as I realized he'd gone through my documents without asking. To my shock, my mother-in-law happily chimed in. Wow, 4 million! This is incredible! Now we can live comfortably for the rest of our lives. Stunned, I couldn't understand why she was acting so casually. Then, Kevin's tone shifted to something more serious. About that $4 million, I decided it will be split between me and my mom. It was right after my father's funeral. Kevin had looked at the inheritance papers I was supposed to receive without my permission, and now he was acting as if the money belonged to him. Emily, don't be too greedy. Oh, I can finally quit my job now. I have to thank that old man for his generosity. Doddering old man? I blurted out in disbelief. Are you talking about my dad? Ignoring my confusion, Kevin continued. Let's proceed with the inheritance process and get the money into our joint account as soon as possible. My head was spinning as Kevin and his mother excitedly discussed buying a new car and shopping. At that moment, I couldn't contain my frustration any longer. I was already overwhelmed with household duties, being constantly asked for money, and now they were insulting my father. I felt like I was about to explode. While holding back my anger, I replied with a forced smile. Sure, use the money you and my mother-in-law, please. As you wish. Hearing this, my mother-in-law, seemingly satisfied, said cheerfully, That's the spirit, Emily. Quick to agree. Now make sure you work hard and earn money. I don't want our saving to decrease, so work hard. I just nodded and pretended to listen to her selfish words. Afterward, Kevin and my mother-in-law began living as if they had lost their minds, consuming money lavishly. Kevin quickly quit his job, and my mother-in-law practically moved in with us, staying at our house constantly. They would leave in the morning, returning with luxury brand items they had splurged on. The 3-star restaurant we went to today wasn't as great as I expected. Yes, it was a bit underwhelming for us, the sophisticated ones. They had conversations as if they had become wealthy celebrities while dumping all the housework on me as if I were a maid. Kevin seemed to think my father's inheritance would come through immediately. He carelessly withdrew money from our joint account, and my savings of $100,000 dwindled rapidly. When I protested their excessive spending, Kevin just laughed it off. Huh? What are you talking about? Isn't $4 million coming soon? Then this kind of spending is no big deal. I warned him. I've already stopped it, but Kevin completely ignored me. Then, a month later, Kevin and my mother-in-law suddenly left for a trip to Hawaii. I wasn't invited and was left alone at home. After seeing them off, I decided to take action. About a week later, while I was relaxing at home, I heard a loud knock on the door. Wondering what was happening, I glanced at the intercom monitor and saw Kevin and my mother-in-law, both dressed in aloha shirts, standing at the front door. What do you want? I asked calmly and coldly. Red with anger, Kevin yelled, What are you even talking about? Why won't the door open? Seeing Kevin and my mother-in-law confused as to why the door wouldn't open, I confidently answered through the intercom. Well, I changed the locks on the door, so of course it won't open. What? Why? Let's talk over this calmly at the nearby cafe. Please go ahead. I'll join you shortly, I suggested. Kevin and his mother, after shouting in front of the entrance, seemingly realized it was futile and soon headed to the cafe. Once I confirmed they had left, I made my way to the cafe. Arriving there, I saw Kevin and his mother, who had arrived earlier, waiting in a state of fury. Hey, what's this about? Did you change the locks? Hand over the new keys right now. There's no need for me to give you the new keys. You both need to leave that house, I calmly told Kevin and his mother. Facing a visibly angry Kevin, I presented a piece of paper. It was a divorce petition I had already filled out. Divorce? You're serious about divorcing me? His mother was equally shocked and bewildered. Emily, why has it come to this? I spoke quietly to the two who were panicking and flustered. By the way, you've been spending lavishly every day. Are you sure your finances are okay? What money? Of course it's fine, Kevin retorted vehemently, spitting as he spoke. Your father's inheritance is coming, right? There should still be over $50,000 in our joint account. Look, I'll show you right now. Here it is. Saying this, Kevin took out his smartphone and opened the banking app to check the account. At that moment, his expression changed abruptly. What? What's this? Why is the money gone? It was there just the other day. As Kevin spoke, his mother quickly glanced at her phone, her expression one of confusion. I couldn't help but reveal the truth as they both panicked, unable to grasp the situation. Of course it's gone. I'm divorcing you, so I moved that $50,000 into my account as part of the property division. What? What do you mean? Kevin's face shifted from confusion to anger, but then he smirked as if a thought had just crossed his mind. Fine then, I'll divorce you. Transfer the inheritance you got from your dad right away. After all, property acquired during the marriage is split equally in a divorce, right? I responded calmly. Well, it seems you've misunderstood something. Why? He asked, genuinely puzzled. Didn't you know? I said. The inheritance I received, even though it was during our marriage, doesn't count as marital property and isn't subject to division. There was a brief silence. Kevin and his mother exchanged looks, their faces slowly changing, as if they truly believed they were entitled to part of my inheritance. I stared at them, speechless, unable to believe their misunderstanding. No, that can't be right. That's impossible. His mother's face turned bright red with a mix of anger and disbelief. Please, feel free to check for yourself, I said, my tone dripping with sarcasm. Kevin began furiously typing on his phone. It says here that property inherited by one spouse from a parent is considered separate property. Therefore, it's not subject to division and cannot be split between the spouses. What? Seriously? His mother, too, stared at the screen in shock. Kevin then turned to me, desperation creeping into his voice. Emily, please don't divorce me. I have no savings, no job. How am I supposed to survive if you leave me? I looked at him coldly and said firmly, What are you talking about? You need to take responsibility for your actions. I'll never forget how you both treated me. I'm divorcing you. I'll go to court if necessary. The change in my tone seemed to strike a chord. Kevin and his mother shrank back, clearly intimidated by my newfound resolve. With a final dismissive look at them, I left the cafe. The divorce went through smoothly without complications. The $50,000 that I had moved from our joint account was rightfully considered part of the marital property division. Eventually, I managed to get Kevin and his mother out of my house. As for Kevin, he wasted no time in squandering the money from the property division. Before long, he found himself penniless, buried in bills from an overseas trip and credit card debt. With nowhere else to turn, Kevin and his mother were forced into even more debt, taking on loans just to keep up. Now, they live in a cramped, rundown apartment, working day in and day out to pay off their debts. The stark contrast to their former lavish lifestyle was a jarring wake-up call. As for me, I sold the condo I had once shared with Kevin and moved into the apartment that had belonged to my late father. I continued to work, but with the inheritance I had received, I now lived comfortably. With gratitude in my heart for my father, I looked forward to a new chapter of my life, determined to protect my happiness and enjoy peaceful days ahead. Have you ever had a moment when you realized you've been living your life on someone else's terms, and suddenly you decide it's time to take back control? What if that moment was triggered by the very people who were supposed to love and support you? That's exactly what happened to me. After my father's passing, I thought that his inheritance would finally bring some peace, but instead, it exposed just how little respect I had in my own marriage. Kevin and his mother acted like the $4 million inheritance was theirs by right. Kevin quickly decided that he and his mother were entitled to a share, casually claiming the money while dismissing me completely. I thought it was just a misunderstanding at first, but as the days passed, it became clear that this wasn't about money. It was about control, and they were trying to control my life. What hit hardest wasn't just the disrespect for my father's legacy. It was the realization that I had spent so long allowing Kevin and his mother to dictate how I lived. For years, I had sacrificed my own desires, always putting Kevin's needs, his mother's demands, ahead of my own. But that day, when I saw their blatant disregard for my feelings, I made a decision. The $50,000 I moved to my account wasn't just about securing my future. It was a statement. I was done. Done with their manipulation. Done with letting them walk all over me. Have you ever felt that shift? That moment when you realize you're worth more than the treatment you've been accepting? Let me know in the comments how you've taken back control of your life, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.